Yeah. I didn't know what. We wouldn't do it without you. Oh, look, I got one.
Yeah.
Oh, one. Oh, mine says, oh, I do. It's right here.
All right,
Yep.
We're going to call to order the regular city council meeting Thursday, September 15th, 2022. Start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then we'll go on with our opening prayer. I believe Mr. Ziegler's here. Guide us.
hello, everybody. What an honor it is for me to be called here today. Rabbi Nachman of Ukraine once pointed out that when an individual prays, a lot of times that prayer isn't accepted because of his behavior. But when a man prays on the behalf of a community, Rabbi Nachman says the prayers are always heard because that prayer is made on behalf of the families and the children and the people in that community. A prayer for the community is always heard by God. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to pray for the city. Lord God, thank you for our mayor and for our city council and all of our leaders at every level. We pray also for our city employees, our police department, our fire department, our maintenance department, and our chamber of commerce. We pray also for the citizens of Port Aransas and all their families. We also pray for the wonderful tourists that visit our town, and we ask that a hedge of protection be put around them and keep our roads safe. We pray for our wonderful winter Texans that they may have a safe trip down here this season to their second home, Port Aransas. We give you thanks for our winter Texans. We beseech you, Lord, give our leaders the grace and wisdom and understanding to bring truth and justice and stability to our city. Lord, we all thank you for this opportunity to serve this city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Ed.
Okay, we're going to go on to item number 3, which is the public hearing. The Port Aransas City Council will conduct a public hearing on the following. VCC 22001688 alley closure. Applicants are requesting to close the unused portion of an alley directly behind their properties located at 135 6th Street and 132 Gulf Street. Portion is approximately 215 feet long and dead ends at their property lines. The applicants are David and Jennifer Kincaid and Arthur and Deanne Ash. Property locations 135 6th Street and 132 Gulf Street. Anybody here to speak on the public hearing for that item?
Was it also, or can I ask a question about this, or?
If it's just a public hearing on that particular item, so you have a question about it, or you want to?
Okay, was Dustin Ross and what was his name behind me? 209 6th Street, also included on that?
There are some other additional people in the application.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
Fine.
just reading exactly from what's here in front of us, but there are some other names in there. Yes, sir. Okay. All right. So the second item in the public hearing is PPLT FPLT 22001447 Blue Marlin subdivision, block 1, lots 1 through 3, and Blue Marlin Nud subdivision, block 2, lots 1 through 33, being a final plat of an existing 24.582 acre tract comprising portions of lots 1 through 3 and 8 through 10, block 51, lots 1 through 10, blocks 49 and 50, lots 4 through 7, block 48, State Land Surveys, Mustang Island, Nueces County, Texas, as shown on the map of the public land of Mustang Island dated May 1945, as filed in the General Land Office in Austin, Texas. Said lots 3 to 5, block 51, also being referenced in a land award and receipt from the state of Texas on behalf of the Permanent School Fund to MDW Financial Limited Partnership and document number 20130333412 recorded in the official public records of Nueces County. The applicant is Blue Marlin Holdings LLC, Gabriel Goodman, property location 3100 block of Highway 361. All right, hearing none, we'll close both those items, the public hearing, and move on to item number 4.
That's a table.
Okay, that's what I was understanding. So we'll then move on to number 5, which is citizen comments and reports. I have 2. And the first is Dustin Ross. Come on up. State your name and your address.
Okay, I'm Dustin Ross, 209 6th Street, Port A. Since my home has been hit with a hurricane, I have not been spending a whole lot of time here. I spend 1 or 2 weeks every 2 or 3 months down here working on it. I had just received a bill this month for trash service for $2,508.57 in the mail right now. My mother and stepdad owned the house and they built the house in 2009. They owned the house next to them prior to that in 2001. They was, I guess you'd call winter Texans. They spent the winter here and then they went back to Missouri during the summer. They would suspend their trash bill every time they went back there. When my stepfather got lung cancer and then passed away, my mother has not been coming down here in the winter. She's been staying up there. She's 91 years old right now. She has not received any trash bill or anything like that then. And when I purchased the house from her in 2015, I haven't received a trash bill or anything like that. When I come down here, I take the trash out of here. When the hurricane hit, my trash can blew away, so I wasn't concerned about it until I got the house livable so I could become a winter Texan too. And then this time now, I get a bill and I guess it goes back to 2015 when I purchased the house. And I haven't received anything since then. I come up and talk to the lady in the utility office. She said that there's nothing she could do about it. I asked her, because of the bill being so large, if I could space it out. So I paid 2 bills, or, I paid $68 yesterday when I got this. I don't feel it's right that you're being able to go back to 2015. I've never used a trash service. I understand there's a city ordinance from talking to her that whoever has water connection has to have trash. And I have no problem with that, but now I get hit with this bill, not knowing that I was to be responsible for trash in 2015 when I purchased it. When I purchased the house and everything else, because when my mom owned it, they suspended it. And we thought that the trash bill was suspended. That's why I've never had it restarted until I start coming down here and living here. And I just want to bring that up if you guys, if there's anything you can do. The lady that I talked to is very nice and polite and everything, but she says there's nothing that she can do about it. Man, that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then Kathy Fulton is the other person signed up for citizen comments.
Hello, everybody. Kathy Fulton, 619 East Avenue B. And the reason I wanted to just do a quick update, as most of you probably already know, but also for people watching and everything. There was a meeting last week with the TCEQ commissioners concerning the Port of Corpus Christi's desalination discharge application for here in the Shemp Channel. And then what happened at that meeting, which by the way, it was the most exciting meeting those people have had in like 2 years, I think. And it wasn't all because of us. But I went, Lisa Turcott went, we had a couple of board members that were there, and then a couple of other PAC members, but overall it was a bunch of suits when we went in, a whole lot of suits. And anyway, what I wanted to say is what they ended up doing is they ended up postponing their quote decision until next week, which is on Thursday at 1 o'clock. Now, a lot of this, there was a lot of interesting things that went on in this meeting, a whole lot of recessing so there was a whole lot of shuffling around. But what I want to say about this is the EPA has been instrumental in helping with this situation. And I say helping, they're really kind of doing what their job is, which is to help protect the environment. And so because of the EPA's, and they've been trying to get the TCEQ's attention for over a year, but TCEQ has failed to cooperate with turning over information. So the EPA's final letter was on September 2nd, which is very clear that they are saying that they will not, just because TCEQ approves it doesn't mean it's going to get the final EPA approval for the national discharge permit that it requires. And so there's a scuffling going on here, a pretty good scuffle. So I would like to encourage anybody and everybody, not maybe as a representative of the city, obviously, but as your own self or and other people that are watching, to please consider at least writing, emailing Charles McGuire, who is the main director for this district. And the reason is, and I've got his email address here, it's just to say thank you. And then also maybe encourage, please, I hope y'all will, hold them, because the EPA really does need to review this application. And that's the truth. There's a lot of questions. There's a number of other issues with deficiency, which they point out very clearly in their letter in a number of areas. So Mr. McGuire's email address is, it's McGuire, and that's MAGUIRE.Charles@EPA.gov. And so just please, it wouldn't take 2 seconds just to say thank you. And we're really thrilled. Thanks.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, I only had 2 signed up, so I'm assuming there's no others. Okay. All right, moving on to item 6, which is going to be an executive session, section 551071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act, to meet with the attorney to seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct, the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act related to Beach Access Road B. So we'll close up.
Do you want to move it to the end, or what's your preference? We always throw them at the beginning, but
And then we can let the citizens stay. I will leave what it was, my
If the council wants to do that, we can
That's good.
table it to the end,
push it to the end.
closer to the back. Okay. All right, well then we'll move on to the meat of the agenda. Okay, so item 8, we'll move into B. It's an ordinance, third and final reading, approving zoning change request ZCR 22001065, changing property located at 5200 State Highway 361 zone from Newport planned unit development to a particular harbor planned unit development as requested by Ocean Harbor, providing for the validity of said ordinance, repealing all prior ordinances in conflict herewithin, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The only reason this doesn't appear on the consent agenda, since it is the third reading, because there was a change, and the change was brought about thanks to an astute patent attorney, is that what you call them, that recognized that the previously submitted name, One Particular Harbor, was the title of a very successful Jimmy Buffett song. And they decided, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Developer, that it might be best to choose discretion and make a slight modification to the name rather than risk the wrath of the Buffett man. So that the change, the only change from the last reading is that the One Particular Harbor is changed to a particular harbor.
Throughout the ordinance, I think.
Right.
Four places, four spots.
Right. I got it everywhere on the agenda item reports, and then completely failed to actually physically change or ask Fran to change it on the ordinance itself. So depending on your action, it will change from one particular harbor to a particular harbor. That is the only change.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
A second.
Okay, There's a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Fran, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Hart,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item C, ordinance, first reading, finding that the alley closing request BC 22001688, a 20-foot wide and approximately 215 feet long unimproved alley being between and adjacent to Coquina subdivision lots 6E and 5, lots 6D and 4, lots 6C and 3, and lots 6B and 2, 129 to 209 Sixth Street and 126 to 202 Gulf Street, and within the city of Port Aransas. It is not necessary for public use as a thoroughfare, providing for the vacation, abandonment, and closure of the unimproved alley, and releasing any and all public rights, title, and interest.
Thank you, Mayor. And with all of that, I just refer you to the drawing that, the exhibit that shows clearly where the property is. And as the narrative and explanation and background said, it was determined to not have any value for drainage or otherwise. And any opportunity we have to get a property like that put back on the tax roll when we don't have any objections is certainly in the citizens' best interest. And so that's what you have here. We didn't receive any objection. I think several of the people involved might be here today, but with that, planning and zoning recommended approval, and we do as well.
Oh, because it says discussed at the meeting, so there are no issues with this then.
No, sir.
A motion to approve?
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion, and a second. Any other discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Mayor Pro Tem Owen,
Yes.
Councilmember Hart,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
motion carried.
Item D, discuss and take action on PPLT 22-00147, preliminary plats of Blue Marlin subdivision block 1 and lots 1 through 3, and Blue Marlin Nud subdivision block 2, lots 1 through 3, being a final plat of an existing 24-acre tract comprising portions of lots 1 through 3 and 8 through 10, block 51, and lots 1 through 10, blocks 49 and 50, lots 4 through 7, block 48, State Land Surveys, Mustang Island, Nueces County, as shown on the map of the public land of the Mustang Island dated May 1945, as filed in the General Land Office in Austin, Texas. Said lots 4 through 5, block 51, and also being referenced in land award and receipt from the state of Texas on behalf of the Permanent School Fund to MDW Financial Limited Partnership, and document 20130333412, recorded in official public records of Nueces County, Texas. Applicant Blue Marlin Holdings LLC, Gabriel Goodman, property location 3100 block of Highway 361.
Another mouthful. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Do we have, is the engineer, anybody here on the developmental side? I believe so. So this project originally came to us as a single plat, but we just felt more comfortable actually having it split into two because of the discussion and the separation of two distinct different uses that we were made aware of. So the property most noticeably is there north, we used to refer to it as a big GLO tract, but that north of the Texan had originally been part of it. And at one point there had been a pretty significant amount of wetlands that were cinched by executive order, and changes in definitions were no longer jurisdictional, which made all of that a buildable, developable piece of property. So the two plats, one, I think the smaller segment there that you're looking at is currently destined to be single family lots, is identified on the exhibit that you have there. All of which are in conformance with the new regulations that council voted on back in August, increasing the lot size, et cetera, et cetera. So all of those are done to that standard. And the remaining property, what you have right now is just platting that with an example as per our slightly stricter interpretation of some of the information pieces that we were requiring on the preliminary plats, is a layout of the water lines and a potential layout for what could be an RV park. That's what we have been told is conceptualized right now. keep in mind that given the zoning, any uses that are allowed within that zoning are possible. That's what we kind of have discussed now, although this plat doesn't recognize necessarily an RV park. The layout of the water and utilities would be for that use. But again, like I said, that's a level of detail we haven't previously seen. And there was some discussion back and forth with the engineers as to whether it was really needed to that level. But in the end, they just decided to provide that. Like I said, that could change. That just gives one example of a utility layout that would work. And that is kind of the more stricter of the interpretations as to what's required beyond just a general explanation. Originally the single project with both was reviewed ultimately when it's split into two different ones, one being a NUD. I'm sorry, I left that operative part out. One being an NUD with the other use. The reviews then that you see from all the engineers did reflect the two different uses. So in the end, fast forward, in the end, all the engineers, including our city engineer review, were reconciled and approved our various utilities, water, sewer, gas, water district, gas, and the others did indicate their approval as well. Planning and zoning approved. And we bring it here to you with an approval recommendation.
So quick question, I might have missed it, sure you all the stuff. The drainage ditch that runs through the property will remain? Was that on the
I
other property?
think that they have proposed moving it.
Okay, but the
drainage plan they submitted, and in fact, I think the drainage plan does show that movement of that, and it may be, and they may end up going underground.
okay,
like I said.
but there is going to be continued some kind of drainage.
Correct.
Okay.
You mean this one here?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the plat that I'm looking at still shows it
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to make
in
sure.
alignment.
Yeah.
Because that's where our easement is,
Okay. Well,
or was, or still is.
okay.
Yeah.
And it does run between 361 and 11th Street. So the residential lots will more than likely obviously take advantage of the 11th Street drainage. The larger tract has several options, but Highway 361 and tying into those systems are what's
This
shown here.
one It's still, this one that the city has.
So when the
is this
engineer goes
long
through
one.
and says it's good on drainage and 11th Street does, when we get a bunch of rain, does fill up. When we don't have that land to go to, does the city's storm sewer handle that additional water that would be on that property coming through our 11th Street when we already fill up? 11th Street?
This one will not be, aside from maybe some driveways right along bordering 11th Street, right in this zone right here. I mean, you'll have some sheet flow from the driveways coming out on the 11th, but I would guess 90% of this is going to go to, maybe not 90, maybe
Significant
Probably-
parts of the ditch. And
probably
back out.
80% of this is just going to come straight down
To the ditch.
to the ditch and enter the ditch and not enter into the 11th Street project. Now, the stuff that does sheet flow out onto 11th Street, it doesn't have far to go because it's going to go in an inlet box right in front of the project, travel right down to the open ditch and then go out. So, I mean,
Which was recently widened and improved over the
Okay.
last, decade. Now, keep in mind, this when I said the level of detail, so they provided that, should the plat be approved, then the whole civil planning kicks in, which is the big bite at the apple to ensure that the drainage, through the civil planning and the civil engineering all works.
yeah, so there's the inlet box. The inlet box is right there on both sides of the street, right across from, there's actually several. There's that one, then there's
Yeah,
another one
there
up there. Well, there's the ditch. And there's the second
there.
inlet box there.
Right.
So whatever does come out onto 11th, it'll quickly just drop in and then daylight back out into the ditch. And the airport ditch is being reworked in the airport capital improvement plan, which is about ready to be bid. by TxDOT Aviation. And that's the one that'll realign the ditch with the runway. The 30 approach on the airport, if you're not familiar with this project, it's being extended 600 feet like that. And then this ditch will be realigned like so. So that entire ditch on the west side of 361 will soon be reworked.
It'll be a lot more
Completely
efficient.
rebuilt, more efficient, a little bit larger.
And that will handle the rest of that, the following, subsequent development of that property.
Yes, it'll all come to that ditch.
All right. Any other questions on this item? Any discussion?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second? Yeah, if we don't have a second, then the motion's gonna fail. So is there discussion that needs to be had or? It's- Okay, so we need a minute for people to
Yeah,
think
please.
about it.
And if it is, if it does, I just, we'll need a,
Rick, did
Would
you
like
say
an
that it
explanation.
was wetlands there, but it's not now? Is that what I heard you say, or did I
there,
mishear?
at one point, the property, in a previous state had jurisdictional wetlands, but when the definitions changed.
Depends on his
Uh-huh.
president.
Okay. Oh, so it was that occurred.
And the
Okay.
determination was.
That's what I was sitting here wondering, what happened that
Yeah,
changed?
they were determined to be non-title, and that was
The strict Obama wetlands
Mhm.
that were in effect. It
Fell
takes
under
about
that.
2 years for a president to undo the former president's wetland actions. So the Obama wetlands
Okay.
were made easier to fill when Trump became president. And then it's taken a while for Joe to reverse Trump. He actually tried to reverse him last year, but it got overturned by a federal judge. So it's actually reverted back to the easier to fill Trump rules at the moment.
So if we were to wait a little bit, it could go back to the harder.
Could go back to the harder to fill rules.
And what would happen then if we plat? I
well,
guess?
we were talking, we don't know because they've got a letter, they've got a 5-year letter from
Yeah, they
the
did.
Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, the owners were smart enough to go get a determination letter from the Corps with the easier to fill Trump rules.
And if they've already acted on it, that becomes uncharted legal territory now.
But we would still notify the Corps of Engineers.
Uh-huh.
At what, when did we notify? 'em?
Anything over, anything half acre or
Yeah,
larger,
when they, for at prelim or final?
just prelim. I'm just on any projects that are half acre. or
So have
larger.
we
put
notified
on
them
notice
yet?
And let them deal with it as they choose.
Have we notified them yet of this one, or would we notify them if it gets
We'll
approved
notify
tonight?
them if it gets approved.
So for how many years was that considered wetland?
On and off?
Oh,
I mean,
it's been on and off.
oh yeah, I mean, every president, typically Republican or Democrat, will change. I mean, they always flip that wetland determination. Usually what they're flipping is the definition of adjacency to navigable waters is what they go in and they flip it back. And so that adjacency issue comes and goes. And like, for example, now this is not deemed, doesn't have adjacency. That's the clause, but over the years, over the last 100 years, it's gone back and forth 50 times probably, or 25 times.
We don't know what would happen is what you said then if it were to change in the midst of.
Well, they've got, right now that the Army Corps is, I think the commitments are like 5 years. The problem is the plats, we only have 30 days to deal with by state statute.
What would be the ramifications if we did not?
we'd have to give them a legal reason.
You're right.
I mean,
That's
based
what
on,
I'm asking.
based on an ordinance. And if you, I would need one because they will ask.
Well, to get us off the dime, I am going without any comment other than that. I will second Tim's motion.
Okay. There is a motion and a second. Any more discussion before we call the roll?
Is this just for that section or the full? This is just the 19 acres of the 24
No, it's for
No,
both,
it's-
both lots.
for everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's two,
It's the one residential
it's
area
the
that,
main one, and then it's the, then this small one.
yeah, that is platted as a residential individual fee simple lots. The other is left as a remainder
And if in
plat.
2 years it goes back to wetlands, they still can't do anything with it, even
Well,
though
it-
we approved it today.
I'm not a wetlands expert, but they've got a jurisdictional letter for 5 years that it won't.
Yeah, we always.
And they've
give-
already
we-
acted on it. That's the.
We'll
question. We
always
don't
give
know.
it to the Corps and we'll let the Corps,
Yeah, it's not our jurisdiction.
we'll let the Corps enact their regs. Yeah,
Yep, if we have a question.
yeah.
So the small lots, how many acres?
5
Okay.
or so.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion?
No.
Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens,
Yes.
Mayor Moore,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay. Item E, ordinance, first reading amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 8, flood damage prevention by adding definitions and correcting grammatical errors. Adopting the current flood insurance study and flood insurance rate map by reference, providing other general housekeeping matters related to said ordinance, and providing for severance reading and effective date.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So my planning assistant is also our designated floodplain manager. That's Nicole Boyer. And so most issues, certainly having to do with all the flood related issues we send to her. But for those that haven't heard, the long awaited preliminary maps that have been floating out there for, I guess, before the hurricane.
2016.
Yeah, have finally been, most of the delays have been based on Corpus Christi and challenges they've made to the preliminary maps. Those have all been resolved and the map, barring any really monumental unanticipated changes, will be adopted in October. So the ones that we've seen, there have been no more changes. We had a few challenges early on, Paradise Point, maybe a couple of other pocket areas that were successfully resolved. But beyond that, Port Aransas didn't have any challenges to the map, but it will be adopted. And with that, just came the opportunity, and actually there were the requirements or the strong suggestions from FEMA that we update some of the language, clean up a couple of and at the time, clean up some of the other language, hence the grammatical errors and others. So that's what you have here. Nothing significant other than adding a couple of just updated phrases based on the new FEMA language, such as reference to design flood elevation, which is base flood +1 that's identified in there, and just the other few changes you see. So it's really more of a housekeeping regulation as we prepare for that map to be adopted.
So will we need to officially adopt the map in another meeting or?
This will, with this changed language, it will do that when the map is, when it's the official date, release date, adoption date by the county, we will automatically adopt it.
Okay.
Which next month?
Yeah, October.
So I mean, based on,
Based on this language,
okay,
correct?
all right,
Now. this
If
will
it
be-
fails, this will change next meeting.
Yes.
right, okay, that's a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Please go ahead.
Okay, there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you.
All right. Item F, presentation and general discussion from Broadus and Associates on Hurricane Harvey recovery.
That one's been tabled.
Okay, I was gonna say, I didn't see anybody here.
Yep.
All right. All right, item G, discuss and take possible action on creating a temporary street banner policy.
Okay, so what came from the chamber was it was their belief that a street banner should only be issued by city council when you guys approve a large event. They felt that anything under a large event would turn into possibly a 12-month a year banner being in the city, because you'd have every fishing tournament, you'd have every play, every pop-off, everything would be a banner. And their recommendation was we don't need to have banners up across the street 12 months out of the year. So they said, we think it should only be large events, which would be Sandfest and possibly Whooping Crane, but that was their recommendation. And so if you guys wanted to direct me to bring that back, or I mean, if you agree with it, it should just be large event permits. Then when the large event permit individually comes to you, which they all have to do, they could ask at that time for the banner recommendation. Otherwise, we just leave it alone.
So I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So the organization responsible for putting up the banner, or the city would put?
Oh, no, they'd put them up.
Then I think if we do this, I think,
We tell them where.
well, that.
Yeah.
They need to have additional insured, so if that banner
Yeah,
falls down and
right.
causes an accident, or, so definitely some kind of
Yeah.
insurance. And I think a very specific end date, so it needs to be
Yeah.
down within 2 days after the event end, or something
Right.
to that effect.
So our large events need more marketing and advertising.
No, that would just be
I'm
if
just saying
they want to
They're
do it.
here already.
Yeah. Right. Most likely, they're not going to use it, is my guess.
Would it be just the one location on Alistair?
We could do two. We could do one as you kind of come off on Cotter. And then another one on Alistair. But again, we wouldn't have to do anything. They would just come to you guys in the permit application for the large event, which
So-
comes to you guys.
I think another thing we need to also consider is how far in advance we're gonna allow, so I'll use Sandfest. Are we gonna allow them to put it up, 3 months ahead of Sandfest starting? So I think we need to have some very definitive.
Yeah, you could set the date during during the time of their application. You could set the time parameters, you could set the insurance parameter.
So by doing that, though, we would just keep. it
You'd have
like
no,
it is.
yeah, you'd have no
There'd be
action.
No action.
Yeah,
to this item,
yeah.
right. Okay.
Your policy is just gonna be, you're gonna stick to large events and that come to city council.
And they could do that right now, correct?
Yes, yeah, they could bring you guys a large
so
event permit
So
and they
somebody
could be
come
part
in
of
and
that.
Say, hey, we want. to put a
Yep,
banner
it could be
up.
part of the ask.
My recommendation, then I don't think we do anything.
Yeah.
with this.
I agree.
Okay,
Agree.
no action. All right.
All right, we'll move on. Item H, no action on G. Item H, presentation, general discussion and possible action to create a policy for hotel motel tax allocations to outside nonprofits seeking funding.
Darla, come on up. Let's talk numbers.
So I gave you at your place tonight a copy of the Hotel Motel Special Revenue Fund financial statement for the fiscal year to date, which kind of gets into the,
Is that the small handout or the large one?
that's the small handout. That gets into the detail of the Hotel Motel Special Fund and the amounts in the hotel tax that are not going towards sales and marketing. So for the fiscal year that we're currently in, we have earned $4.1 million for the fiscal year to date. And we have spent 2.89. So the fund,
So that's the second column.
the second column is year to date actual. So the fund has grown by almost 1.3 million this year. You have figures they pop right now. With that growth, you're looking at about 12.9 million today in that fund. But on the very last page of that packet is in the budget every year, we do put in the final budget a 5-year capital plan that's just done by staff. This is a 5-year extended plan of some things that could happen in special projects. And you're looking at about 38 million in projects on this schedule that are hot tax qualified.
So anything with the H/M.
Right, anything with an HM special is hot tax qualified. Now notice the rec center, if we were to build a rec center, it has 2 other places where money could come from. Park dedication fee and the RDC, which gets half% of sales tax. But just note that the hotel motel special has a larger pot than either one of those 2 funds. So, the majority of those dollars have the ability to come from hotel motel special. So every year during your council goals workshop, you have a 45-page document in there, 40-something page, that is from the Texas Hotel Lodging Association. It's written by a guy named Scott Joslev. He used to be legal counsel for Texas Municipal League, knows hotel tax like no one else. It talks about what can and cannot be done in hotel tax.
And I was the one that asked to have this put on because I think, I was concerned about I went and looked up some things, and if I may, I'd just like to read specifically from TML Legal. It says, and this is in reference to the usage of hot tax. It says, art organizations are a common trouble area. It seems that every arts council in the state knows that promotion of the arts is one of the 9 categories on which city hotel taxes may be expended. Cities know this because these groups frequently come asking for the money. The thing to remember about the arts groups is this: direct funding of the organization's operations does nothing in and of itself to put heads in beds. Put another way, funding the operating budget of an arts council meets the second part of the test. And again, this is part of a much larger document, promotion of the arts, but not necessarily the first. And it says the solution is that the city should encourage the group to seek funding only for festivals and shows that do that. Okay. And so again, I am not commenting specifically. This is nothing, again, I don't hate the Arts Center. I don't have anything against PAC. I'm simply reading what the law is. And okay, I'm not saying that I agree with the law, but that is the current way the law is written. And the comptroller does require an audit of hot tax spending by cities. Is it annually, I believe?
It's not an audit, that's reporting, but
It's the reporting requirement. The problem was, and I responded to your email, is that there's 6 items that it lists, and it's the money you give the chamber,
it does have the arts,
and then the money that you give any 501c3s, and then for some reason
wayfinding signs.
signage. What is left out of that reporting requirement is spending at the beach, spending at your nature reserve, spending your
Marina.
fishing piers, your marinas. So the vast majority of what the city spends hot tax on is not in that report. So that's why we wanted Darla to give you an all-inclusive that goes way beyond the reporting requirement to the comptroller.
And that's what I was looking for here. It's just
Exactly,
like a
right.
5-year plan to show people, hey, we do have a lot of money in it right now, relatively, large amount of dollars in it, but there are allocated expenses already that would be used for in the future.
Right.
So
Now you got to remember this document here, this is in the charter. And the charter states that the city manager shall provide counsel what I think is this is a city manager projection. It by no means has ever been
no, but I think
approved
the
to be-
reason I asked it was because then it sort of gives folks an idea of, hey, here's what we could allocate these funds for, rather than there's this large pot of money sitting there waiting to be spent. So
Now, next year in the budget, you do have $5,068,000 that you did approve for the marina.
that's for the harbor.
All of the harbor master
Yeah.
office, the pavilion improvements is to finish out everything with the parking plan, the dock 3 and 10.
And then we have
Um,
10 million
some
each
dredging.
year for in 25 and 26. And then again, that's just
Right.
estimate or
Right,
whatever. Okay.
Right. So, I mean, there's more out there in needs of capital projects if you were to choose to go down and do any of these capital projects than we currently have. I can state that for a fact.
There
Um,
is a municipal hot tax, and I know because I've talked to other cities about this. And that can be used for arts and.
This is the
historic.
municipal.
No,
hot
that's
tax.
what
This
you're,
is what
yeah,
you're
this is
That's
what
what
you're
we're
talking
talking
about.
about.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading and I don't have that in front of me, where, yes, it can be used.
Arts
A
is
lot-
eligible.
Right.
One thing when where
It's be
Steve
careful. what
was
the arts
talking
like
about
is, yeah.
festivals and different things. One, if you continue reading in the whole document, and everything, they do talk about best to prove that you have room blocks, that you have gone to a hotel and says, hey, we're bringing in, I'm going to pick on the theater, that they're going to have a play. And their play is going to be these weekends, and we're going to go to the Holiday Inn and say, the Hampton, can we
Have
get
10
us
rooms.
10 rooms at a special rate blocked? When people call, they can say, I'm here for this event. Kind of like what a conference does, they have room
Right.
blocks. And that's where,
That's one of the litmus tests.
yes, and they kind of expect from hotel tax.
So this can be
Right.
used for all three of the organizations then?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. It
But
can legally
only
be
for
used.
those specific
Yes.
allocated purposes. though,
Correct, yes.
You can't just,
Well, they have to.
Right, it's
what they
not to
use it.
pay
You
your
can't just
AC
say,
bills,
right,
it's not to
right.
pay your
Operating
mortgage,
expense.
it's not, yeah.
But
I think that the one
advertising,
for
yeah.
Papaha did meet the test, right?
Right, because that
Building
one
a
is
building,
different.
Creating a building.
Yes.
Right.
Does,
Museum.
I think you've said this. Let me try saying it a little differently. Councilmember Chambers, if there's a two-part test to qualify. Meeting one of the 9 categories, which includes the arts, is one part of the test. The other part is provide tourism and support tourism, right? And so they assert that the operations doesn't necessarily promote tourism. So you're right, arts is one of the part tests, but there's another part to the test, and that's the part that doesn't get equated based on TML's legal advice.
I just know a lot of cities do use hot tax for to help the arts. Like I was talking to somebody over in Rockport, and that's where I got some of my information, but.
yeah, their
yeah.
festival is more
Right.
on the line of like a sandfest. It's
Well, I'm
massive.
talking about their theater even.
No, that's, yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, well, it has to be. The litmus test of proving up heads and beds is
Right.
pretty critical.
And I know it's a small
Yeah.
amount, but I still am
Yeah.
a big supporter.
Yeah,
and would like
absolutely.
To help.
And I would like to too, but I mean, what my point would be, and the reason I wanted this on here is, just so everyone's up to speed on what the real laws are. And then the other thing I have asked a couple of times, I think it would be nice if we were to lobby the legislature. I think a city like Port Aransas specifically, the amount of hot tax we get, and we will get in the future once we get more building here, the amount of hot tax that we're going to be getting is going to be disproportionately large, and to not allow us to use it for things like, fire department, right? That seems crazy to me, right? I mean, it really is. We are in a very unique position compared to a Dallas or a San Antonio or an Austin, where hot tax is relatively small. I mean, you even had graphs from some of the people, that came here. I think it was the Arts or PAC, but they show the graphs. The point is that, I mean, we're well over 50% non-resident. So
Well, Dave, isn't that under the 35105, the local government code? It's where it's South Padre, Galveston and us.
Yes, we have
We're a barrier island.
yes, we're under our own little, well, we fall under 2. We fall under the main clause, and then we fall under the special one towards the bottom. It's called coastal barrier islands.
Right.
and so that gives us
A little bit more, gives
us
us more allowance than other areas, like, for example, Roberts Point Park qualifies, whereas if Roberts Point Park was in College Station, it would not qualify for hot tax. In a coastal barrier island community, it does qualify. for
And I
hot
think the
tax.
marina too kind of falls under that.
Yeah, I
category.
think they throw in a
Some
marina
of the
too.
other,
Yeah,
other
There are
types of
many
cities.
cities that have special exceptions.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they have their
that's
own,
why-
like, yeah.
I mean,
Unique.
that's what
Softball
I'm saying,
fields.
like, it would
So
be,
you're
in my
correct.
opinion, yeah, if we could lobby somehow or get it, because I do think that we are somewhat hamstrung, in my opinion. That's what I had in here, my exact phraseology, you know, for communities like Port Aransas, the high visitor to resident ratio, right? We're in a very unique situation. I think probably, maybe with the exception of South Padre, I don't know who else would be close to us. So I don't know if that's worth it, but I did it also just want to, you know, again, it says no action, that may take any action.
Yeah,
just
I was
wanted to make sure.
surprised, just an aside, when I looked at Rockport's audit, their hotel tax is just a little over $1 million for their hot tax, and we're at 9. I was
And what's
really
the
surprised. I
what's
thought it
the
would be higher than
residents
that.
over there?
It's higher than ours.
Oh, yeah, quite a bit, yes. So we're in a
But I
very
still
unique
I
position.
expected their hot tax to be higher than that. It's not.
Do
That's
we-
neither here nor there, but
So as far as a
Yeah.
comptroller audit, is there anything that we need to be concerned about?
No,
it's
just
not
the fact that you guys are aware that there are some big ticket hot tax items on the horizon.
it's not an audit too. You do get
Yeah.
audited. We're gonna post a link to where it'll list our expenditures.
Okay.
It's reporting.
Yeah.
It's reporting, not an
Reporting,
audit.
not an audit to the comptroller.
Right.
Okay.
Next year, it'll probably be an audit.
Because they are pulling back, yeah.
This came out with the 2017 legislation, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so David, no action, you just want to make it part of the discussion, keep it in the
And
forefront.
if anyone else thinks that we should, you know, look at lobbying legislature, any other discussion from anyone? I mean,
I think. So of the 6% that goes to the state, we get a third of that, 2% of that comes. to the
We do
state.
get it back for beach maintenance
Right.
and,
I think it's good to go get more. The state doesn't have, they get to use all their 6% into their general fund. They don't use it for promotion of tourism. At the state level, it would be good to get some more of that. And use it for. So a city of our size needs how many police officers, Dave?
What's that?
A city of our size of residents has how many police officers of our size?
residents.
Right now, we have 23.5.
Oh, you mean a city,
Bad.
oh, a city of 4,000 probably has
Okay.
5, 6.
So
Yeah.
it has 5 or 6. That's our normal stuff. So. Would all the other police officers be for tourists and everything? Yes.
I think we're kind of getting off topic.
Well, no,
The-
but if he's asking.
Hold up, the agenda item is to create a policy for hot tax allocation to the nonprofits.
All right.
so maybe it should be also, instead of just allocation, Dave, I don't know if you want to put a specific dollar value, bucket of money. It also mentioned in that article that, and I'm not agreeing with this, I'm simply reading from the article. It says, the laws governing the hotel tax expenditures permit the city to delegate expenditure of hotel tax money to another entity, or typically a chamber or convention and visitor bureau. As long as the chamber spends money on projects that otherwise meet the 2-part test, it's fine to delegate some funds. So again, I'm not saying that I like that. I'm not saying that, I'm simply stating what the law says right now. So that would be one possibility.
I think we need to keep it within our, purview, and not turn it over to another organization.
We have to make certain then that it meets that 2-part test.
Right.
We need to
And I
come up
don't
with a
know
better
how-
application then.
How would you recommend that?
We'd have to work on something that meets it.
There are a lot of,
No, go ahead.
there are other cities that have applications and they create, again, for lack of a better word, a committee of the city staff that will review the applications.
Maybe
One of the most important things they determine is actually the amount of hotel tax that actually event generates. And then the staff actually makes a recommendation to the city council for decision making.
I mean,
So
I
there's an
personally,
internal review, if you will.
I
in many
personally like
cities.
that
And There's
idea.
lots of application
I agree.
forms out there that.
Do you have staff to do
recommend
that?
it.
We'll figure something out, but we got to figure this out because this topic was more discussed
Right.
than the rest of your
Budget.
$15 million budget. it dominated every meeting
Yeah.
and it shouldn't be like that.
Well,
We
can
shouldn't
just
be
make that
having,
not happen again.
what's that?
We can just make that not happen again.
Yeah, by having an application, by just.
Yeah, so maybe
just
Dave,
by-
the action is you
Yeah.
work with the staff or Darla.
I think you
back
guys
to our
need to set a,
recommendation.
you
We
you
need to
need to,
set a
you need to
amount.
set a cap and you
Yeah.
need to, give us some.
Why don't-
Because if it's just freewheeling that everyone gets to come to you guys every July and it's
I think
there's
they've been
no
wanting-
number, there's no cap, it's.
Right, my
We're gonna
concern
see
after
this.
that meeting was if they would have came in last time and said 700, 400, 200. I wonder if we would have approved that,
So my recommendation is probably 100,000 cap for, to be divided up between those.
May I make, I mean, I could make a motion if you want, but I mean, I would
For discussion.
suggest that the, city staff, Darla, and, come back with a recommendation on how we proceed in the future. I mean, we don't have to vote on it. I mean,
I
we
have
don't have to-
heartburn with this because just a few years ago, we were giving zero. And then we gave some for the pandemic. And to go from 0 to 450, I don't know if we're being true, having our fiduciary duties properly.
which-
That's my biggest.
Thank you.
concern.
Yeah, that was my concern as well, Kelly. And that's why I wanted to show that, there are, I think, reasonable expenditures.
Well, the
coming up.
museum was a
That
one-time,
was a
that's a
one-time.
one-time deal.
And
the
I agree with
100
that one.
Yeah.
The 300.
Well, that
was
was
the
right.
100
maybe a
was-
Well, I think it sounds like the council in general is probably all in agreement that there needs to be a serious change to the way these funds are administered. And
Yes.
we've had this discussion, to David's point, at every meeting for the last several months. So rather than make a motion and recommendation tonight, because I do think it needs more thought, especially if we're going to create a process, an application, a form. I would like to see the staff come up with some kind of recommendation, of course, with everyone's input. And if you guys feel that $100,000 is a good limit, then individually let Dave know, send emails, and we can come up with, something, and maybe in the next month or two, we can come up with consensus and have it in place way in advance of the beginning of the year. I know it's not our fiscal year, but the beginning of, January, February, and maybe even sooner, so that all organizations know what the plan is.
Yeah, November is probably a better target than October, just because it's year end.
Right.
And we're pretty
Okay.
overwhelmed.
Do we need a motion on that or just?
No, I'll-
Council, we're okay then.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next.
Okay. All right. Item I. Discuss and take possible action on directing staff to establish and set a date for fall short-term rental workshop to include in establishing a short-term rental work group and giving directive.
So basically, this is just a continuation of the workshops that we did in the spring of last year. I was involved with it. I thought it went fairly well. I think it'd be a very good thing to continue it on. Just kind of where we're at, what's happened. So the only other thing I'd like to see is the addition of at least one of the people to be on the board or the workshop be an owner operator of like a single unit or,
Like an ADU or ADU
yeah,
operator.
something like that. Yes.
So like what makeup do you guys envision?
So
Like a 8, like what size group we thinking?
so I was thinking 2 from a larger, like Life in Paradise. or
Yeah.
Silver Sands, 2 from a medium, 2 from a small, 1 from like an ADU or self operator, and 2 from the general public that have no association.
We did have one at least for the self-operator last
I couldn't
year.
remember, but I'm just making sure that's on
Richard-
there.
It was not, it
Adams,
was
Adam
not an
Richards.
ADU. Yeah, it was not an ADU, but it was.
And
No,
do
it's
you
just
want,
a
was,
Single house.
and are you thinking no council, just let staff kind of give them a little bit of guidance, but not a whole lot of oversight and let them see what they come
I'd
up
like to
with?
see probably 1 council member on there, just to,
You?
give.
Yeah, Trish.
hear-
I'd like to work.
I'd recommend, I mean, he's got experience in it.
Yes.
From a legal perspective, you should know, the council, that short-term rentals is definitely very fluid in the legal community at this point. We did have a recent federal case that came down from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is applicable in the jurisdiction here, involving some short-term rentals. And I fully anticipate that our Texas legislature will be dealing with it again more prominently this legislative session. They intended to do that 2 years ago at their last legislative session, but of course, Storm Uri and COVID rearranged their priorities. So we're going to keep watching to see what bills are filed. They'll be filing this October and see what comes through. And we'll keep you aware that the working group should definitely have a relationship with legal because of the fluidity of what's happening at the Texas legislature and our federal courts.
I think the last workshop was well within the legal bound. It wasn't, I mean, it was more cooperation between the different entities to hit on the hot spots that were causing problems and come up with some solutions like the,
Trash. and
management
high
company,
sound,
the
barking.
trash. So I mean, I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying, I think that a lot, Tim, that was just sort of like cooperation
Right.
between the different, stakeholders.
Yes.
So are you envisioning this group coming up with additional ordinances or just
No.
to review things?
Just review what we've discussed last year, because I mean, basically, that's kind of how the Port Street parking lot came up. Was to kind of be able to have additional parking that's strictly, for parking, not for the marina, not somewhere else. Getting numbers back up from GovOS,
Yeah, we had good cooperation. A lot of them, when they sat down in the meeting, they said, hey, we got a problem. We're STR people. Let's fix this ourselves from within instead of being told how to fix it. And I think that's our goal, our objective
That's right.
is to see what they can come up with for self-policing and self-corrections.
Just giving them a voice at the table.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And Tim and I have talked about this, but is the intent not to possibly look at the ordinances we have in place and to tweak them? And that's why I think once the committee has some suggestions and recommendations, I absolutely agree, Roxanne. I think that's where whatever those are probably needs to pass through legal and the litmus test. But I think there's a lot of hammering out of what they want to look at to tweak. And we've talked about a few possible ideas that will.
So we've met
bring.
like twice in the spring. Is that correct? Or 3 times.
Maybe 3.
I think 3.
Yeah. And it was, I think it was very positive.
Surprisingly, the property managers who I think a lot of us felt,
Solutions.
would push back, actually were pretty supportive on some pretty, I'd go as far as say some radical ideas
Yeah.
at the time.
They
So
weren't against.
They understand if
dropping
they
down
don't
the
police it,
occupancy.
you guys are going to step in and do it for them.
And I think that, I mean, several of them have moved forward with hiring their own security services, that came out of that. So
I think
What are the other
with it being an
legal
ad hoc
issues?
committee though, I mean, we can probably just do this. We can get together, whoever's interested, come in and we'll set dates and all of that,
I
correct?
mean, basically, it's stuff like parking, noise, it's not a lot of like.
Yeah, not registering with the city. So
Well, and
I
we'll have,
think you had one of those cases this last week, right?
So
She's had a
code
few.
enforcement has been doing very well.
Yes.
They certainly have been issuing citations to property owners that have short-term rentals that are not registered, and we are seeing them in municipal court. And when they come in, it is large of substantial amounts in back hotel occupancy taxes that are owed for the past couple of years.
So I hope the paper is listening to this specific comment and maybe can escalate so that individuals in the city understand that there is code enforcement and there are fines that are associated with
and we're prosecuting
pay.
to the full
and you're
extent.
prosecuting them. Yes.
The interesting conversations that I have as the prosecutor with these property owners is they believe that the city hotel occupancy tax was being collected by Airbnb or VBRO. And I have to clarify to them that the state hotel occupancy tax is collected, but not the city hotel occupancy tax.
So that might be a great message to get out to individuals if there is simply not a purposeful non-compliance, but rather just they don't understand. Yeah, lack of
There may
knowledge.
be a possibility, and I believe the city of Corpus Christi might be doing it, whereby the city has agreements with VRBO and Airbnb to also collect the city tax so that it's automatically brought in as opposed to.
There's a service.
I don't know.
You could, there was a service that you could pay somebody to pay your other tax, but you as the property owner got to decide whether you wanted it. So if you're receiving funds that are taxes, you shouldn't be keeping taxes that you're supposed to be paying to somebody else. And I think that needs to get stronger because it has to be a level playing field. And if you don't understand what you're doing, then you shouldn't
Should
be
be
renting
playing.
your
Yeah.
property. I mean,
Back to the agenda item though, I mean, if it's all right with everybody, you can come in and we can set a schedule and find meeting rooms and the makeup, because it is an ad hoc committee.
And so I like to just direct city staff to move forward with it, and
Thank you,
that's
Tim.
my recommendation, so.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay. All right. Item J, discuss and take possible action directing staff to establish and set a date for a golf cart workshop to include establishing a golf cart work group and giving directive.
So, so as with the short-term rental, this particular one has not been done before, but I believe that seeing the positive stuff that came out of the STR, that this is also another hot topic area is golf carts and golf cart rentals. So to do something similar. Because obviously, you know,
done that.
and on this one, I would like the chief to be involved in it if we. Okay, or head it up.
And I do think actually we've reviewed golf cart
We
stuff
have
for
done it.
years. I mean, I don't think it's to say that they haven't ever done it is not
No, no.
actual. I think it has. But if you feel or council feels that we need to create another new group to discuss the future of golf cart permitting and the rules in Port Aransas, then that's up to you guys if you want to do it. But I agree. I mean, I think if we're going to do it, we need to be fair and have representation from
Yes.
golf cart rental groups,
Small.
short-term rental people that have golf carts, people who are golf cart owners, and absolutely 100%. law enforcement.
Yeah, because a lot of the rentals that go, the golf carts are with the house and they do everything online and they're signing the contract and everything. They're not reading the complete rules in the contract. And I think that's where a lot of issues come from.
Dale, you kind of had motioned over there.
The chief has done, the city has done that several times,
Mhm.
and I think it's very appreciated. And I think people should come, though. I guess the comment was the people that are having the problems with them don't show up to the meeting, but everybody that's doing it right, but there's good suggestions that comes from industry. And it's more of an education process that if people even own a golf cart, these are the rules where if it's even a little bigger. So I think we're missing on some of the education issues on short-term rentals and on golf carts that could help
Mhm.
everybody with it, because some people just don't know. They fill out a paperwork and they think, here I go. No, it's a lot more to it, especially on short-term rentals.
As your city prosecutor, I certainly am prosecuting a lot of golf cart violations in court. And one of the newest ones that I've been hearing the past couple of months is they think these wonderfully beautiful, large sidewalks that you have on their own highway. And a lot of them are from short-term rental golf carts, not necessarily the organizations that are business organizations that rent them out.
Correct.
So that's just what I'm hearing in court for your information.
And that's important information that would come out in one of those sessions.
It would,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then there's those that don't care. They know the rules and they don't care.
Oh,
I
yeah.
say
Well,
that a lot.
they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Doesn't
They're like,
matter
I
if they're-
know, but I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I'll roll down the window and say, you can't be on the highway.
They
and-
really want to get to
Yeah.
Whataburger or
Yes.
the spaghetti where.
And they don't care. So
Okay, so same thing, staff will come up with a working group and set some meetings and just see what we can come up. All right, great. I think those are good suggestions. All right, item K, discuss and take possible action on creating a policy for liveaboard parking allowances at the municipal harbor. Roll.
Tim's on the road.
Tim.
I'm gonna get shot at next problem, so,
Go ahead.
I've noticed, particularly at the marina, there are a lot of vehicles and trailers are left way longer than a guide or person is gonna be out there, and Dave and I spoke and we came up with that. There's probably a lot of them that are liveaboards that are leaving their, vehicles, so the idea was to set number of spaces they can use and adopting, policies or whatever we need to do. So Dave,
Yeah, so currently the way the ordinance reads it, there's a little vagueness that a liveaboard person is exempt from the number of spaces. So instead of the way it reads, instead of 2 vehicular spaces, it's very gray on well, the way I read it, it seems that they're also exempt on having a trailer too. So what happens is that we up the liveaboards to 20. And if all of them start having 2 cars and then a boat that's on a trailer.
or work.
Yeah, now you're up to, and some of them now, what they'll do is that they'll have a little 8-foot, an 8x8 storage van that's on a trailer, and that's their storage. And so we're seeing a couple of those in the parking lots, and we just do not have, we do not have the parking for every liveaboard to have 3 spaces.
Yeah.
And I think we need to, I think it should be 2 spaces. If you need to store a boat, go like everybody else and go get a boat barn or, or Mitchie's or storage, but we shouldn't be burning up a bunch of our parking spaces providing storage for someone's boat trailer. I just, we got to really limit them to 2. And my recommendation would be that the liveaboards have a placard and that we get some placards made, and it's slip 301 vehicle 1, slip 301 vehicle 2, and we hand those out, and that's what they got to have hanging so that we know who's who. Because it's just
Each guy go around on his little golf cart.
yeah, it's there. We just don't have the parking, and to give,
Yes.
right now there's a couple boats. There's a couple owners that have boats, and they have 2 cars, and now they have a boat.
So every boat slip we have right now, do we have enough parking spaces for each one of those slips to have 2 spaces?
No, because there's about 248. No, we don't have that many.
Right.
No,
So how can we do this?
It works. How can we do what?
To give them 2, but the other
Oh.
guys don't get 2.
Well, the way the ordinance reads, it's 1.5, Rick.
Yeah.
1.5, and it's the way it works is because no one's there at the same time. So if you get 1.5, and you're a slip owner, usually your neighbors aren't there at the same time. So there's always extra parking. Now, if everyone showed up,
Yeah, I mean, I
We-
just don't think we can say you can have this when we don't even
But-
have it.
But at the same time, I mean, if you have a husband and wife, you're saying that they can only have 1 vehicle parked there?
yeah, that's the dilemma is a lot of them have, it's a couple with 2 cars.
I mean, most, you could look back like at the short-term rental parking requirements, and it's 1 car per bedroom, and you'd say most boats probably are just 1 bedroom. Dave, for the transient people, the people who rent the spaces for the weekend, there's no rules. They can have 10 cars if they want. They come down and they rent a slip for the weekend, and they have their boat captain and there are 10 people that are fishing with them. They could just take up the whole end of Roberts Point Park if they wanted.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's
think
first come, first serve.
so
Now you can't load your clients on any of our,
Right, but I mean, in general, because
Yeah.
none of the other parking is really monitored.
So I guess in this too, I don't know if it's going outside the parameters of this, but can we mark certain areas especially like at the point of Roberts Point, that's, no long-term parking, where people use it, for the day,
Well,
you know,
fish that off there.
1 hour parking. Well, not 1 hour
Well-
parking, but I mean, but so there's no overnight parking there, or I don't know what it would be.
Yeah.
But because
Be
that's,
hard to do
Um,
right there.
It is, I mean, when you drive down through the park, when it's a non-busy time, you can obviously see the concentration of vehicles that are there for, whether it's liveaboards or whether it's people who do keep their boat there year round, maybe, there might be someone who just rents a slip there and they're there a lot. But-
I mean.
I mean, that's why it's important to keep that liveaboard number down.
Yep.
Because you keep bumping that liveaboard number up. If you go to 30, now we're at 90 spots. I mean,
when we keep adding boat slips, we don't have parking spaces.
Well, yeah.
Just like.
Well, actually, yeah, I mean, actually, the hurricane reconfigured to larger slips. So actually it was a wash when we redesigned everything.
Even with these new boat lists. we're putting-
Well, no, those are increased. But for the larger ones, it was a wash, but we also just built this parking lot. That's brand new.
Yeah.
So in the past years, this is what we've done. We've done, this one's brand new.
But that part you're circling is for boat trailers.
No,
think on the
all of this is for individuals.
That part on the.
Yeah,
left,
yeah, you're right. Okay, let me redo my
that's what people
circle.
want to-
So those are cars there, and then those are cars. And then this is what we also did about 6 years ago. We dug into these median strips that were just a big waste and we were always mowing. So we came in and we created all of these. Those are all pretty new. We did those in about 2014. And then we did all of these right in here. Those are all new. Used to just be median strip. And then we did these across the street. These right in here. We're all new. Because if you go back in time, you'll see that they're not there. Watch.
Most of those by the boat ramp, those are servicing the people. that-
Yeah, see this right here? So if you go back to about 2010, see all these right in here were all added. So see all those. So over the years, we've added probably 100 plus parking spaces.
But that's going to be for the people using the park. And the other part is for the people using the boat ramp, not for people that are leasing boat slips.
Right. If it gets real crowded, the boat slip people will park over here. I mean, if they have to.
I think some of the weekenders too, sometimes just kind of park their boats down there and trailers.
Or you could do this, you could say, you get one, and if you want a second one, you're gonna pay for it.
How are you going to distinguish
fair.
these people between the normal?
With a
parkers?
placard.
No, but I mean, so are there gonna be certain spaces that have to have a?
No, I don't
placard?
think we do it by spaces because they're all spread out.
Yeah.
So then if somebody
It's just up
parks
to the
there,
harbor master and his team to really monitor and figure out whose cars are whose. I mean, if you have a placard
Mhm.
system and all the cars have placards and all of a sudden you start seeing that Toyota Tacoma there month after month after month, we can have PD run the plates on it and say, oh, you're a liveaboard.
That little
This is
car
your
with the
third
canoes
car.
Have been there forever,
Yeah,
in and out.
How many liveaboards do we have?
we're up to 20 now. We just increased it back in February, I believe. We increased it from 13 to.
I think we're asking for trouble. If we tell people you can have 2 spots and we can't guarantee that.
Well, right now there's some with 4.
But we're not telling them that they can have 4. They're just taking it upon themselves to get 4.
Right, yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We should say you're limited to 1 space per slip.
see, I get the
And
part
if there's
about,
extra, you go park extra, but we cannot guarantee you're gonna get 2 spaces with the
Yeah.
people that use them at Roberts Point Park and the boat. launch.
Yeah, right now it's 2 plus a trailer, 2 plus a boat.
Drop down on Saturday in the summer.
Yeah.
So.
no, I understand the part about the placard. The problem I'm having, David, is how you're gonna identify these other people that are parking there that, I mean, what you said was, well, you gotta look and you'll say, hey, there's a Toyota that's been there for 6 weeks or something. Unless we were to have certain designated spots that would be associated with those placards. I don't know how else, it would take a lot of.
Yeah, it's a
work.
lot of,
You'd have to say, oh, that Toyota's been there, so who's gonna notice it? I guess Joellen would notice it.
I mean, it's not like a super critical thing that right now where all 20 of them have multiple cars and boats. But we need something on the books that prevents it from getting worse.
Yeah.
We need something in place.
Kelly wants one. I don't know.
I just don't know I don't know how this is gonna be enforced. I agree with the thought. I
sorry.
just don't know how it's gonna be enforced.
Well, nothing's being enforced right now, so something's better than nothing.
Well, not
Well, you got,
necessarily.
someone could make a motion for 2 and a placard and for us to develop a placard system.
1.5.
Okay, so do you want us to actually, I mean, you're gonna maybe, I mean, I think everyone's in agreement, we need some kind of policy.
Yep.
So do you want to bring that
And
back,
make a motion.
next month?
No, I'd rather just,
Oh,
I'd rather roll the dice right now.
oh, okay.
All right, I'd like to make a motion of 2 spaces per liveaboard maximum.
And for David to develop a placard system.
Or parking system.
There we
whatever.
go.
I'll second it.
All right, any other discussion? Fran, call the roll.
No.
No.
Yes.
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 No,
Mayor Moore.
it's on you.
Everybody's good at.
Yes, I think we need a system. And
can
if we need to
tweak it.
tweak it, we can.
Yeah.
tweak it, but I think
Alright.
we need a system.
We can tweak it.
That'll be a start. Okay.
That's the luxury of voting last. So much fun. All right, item L, discuss and take possible action on the placement of the Amos Rehabilitation Keep, ARK turtle signage along the beach.
How many art people are here tonight?
So
Yay.
Rachel, will be speaking on this.
Okay,
I will be abstaining as I am treasurer for Friends of the Ark. So I
Okay.
feel not legality, but just for optics that I abstain.
okay, all right.
Hi.
Alicia, welcome.
Yes, so I've brought a turtle sign here with me.
Okay.
Some of you may have heard on the news that we've been having a large increase in turtles stranding on our shores. So we wanted to put up some signage for education so that people knew how to get in touch with someone to help them. A lot of our people are, visitors to our area and they may not know of the art. So this would be a good way. Hey, I saw that sign with a cool turtle on it. I know who to call. We've been working on these signs. We actually printed them in like 2018. So
Oh, wow.
we've had them for quite some time, but we just haven't been able to get them in action. Sure. And I think, yeah, and I think Jace Tunnel, who is the director of the Missionaries of SNAR, I think he actually reached out to you, Mr. Parsons, way back then in order to get them hung, and we never made it go anywhere. So
How many do you guys need? Like, how many are you looking at?
so we have in stock probably about 60, 70 of them, but we wouldn't put that many on the beach. We just have extra
Right.
as they deteriorate because, it's the beach. And so maybe about 30, I was thinking along the jetty, a couple along the jetty and like access points of the beach. So maybe Cotter Street, Beach Street, Lantana Avenue G. And then maybe some of the higher occupancy spots like Pioneer, those kind of locations along the beach and every so often along the markers. We could utilize already existing structures to go into. We've got a hole already drilled into these and we could use corrosion resistant hardware to do that. We would do all the work, which it makes it a little easier.
Have you contacted the county, Scott Cross, for
Jace
for
has
doing- okay.
contacted the county, but we haven't recently. So
Right.
that was way back when, but we would follow up with him as
So
well.
they do pretty much from like Lantana, just south of Lantana
Right.
is the county,
Yeah.
is the start of the county beach. So Scott Cross, so like right in, kind of right in this area right here, there's a sign
Mhm.
that says, city county maintenance. It's like right
Yeah.
in there. So the county would be or Scott Cross would be your guy that
For
would,
that area.
from there all the way back to the jetties.
Right, I think we'll need to
Yeah.
contact him for that area, you guys for a large portion, and then also the city of.
Yeah, it all
Corpus
works,
Christi,
yeah.
Too.
And then if
And
council
kind of-
directs me to, I'll work with Jim.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, but I particularly make sure we focus on like where the piers are too, because I
Yeah.
know during the
There's
turtle freeze.
Fishing hotspots,
Probably
yes.
200.
Right, and
Lot.
also like along by,
Cove.
you know, in the nature preserve
ramp.
along Roberts Point Park, we get a lot of calls there for not just these loggerheads that have been recent, but you know, our greens for the freeze.
Sure.
Yeah, so
So the city, just to let you guys know, the city is working. There's council members on it, and the chamber, we're working on a new wayfinding signage. It's gonna be
Yes.
kind of a all encompassing. So ultimately, the goal would be that all our beach signs and our beach partners,
right,
we would all work in conjunction with each other to get all this.
messaging aligned.
Yeah, so,
yeah.
so. We'll
It may be
start
a
with- start with
temporary
these,
thing.
And then maybe in a year or so, they transition to
Yeah,
maybe a different shape or something else that
Right.
works into our wayfinding,
I-
but just so you guys know, we are kind of doing this citywide
Sign.
wayfinding, and it definitely incorporates the beach. I mean, everything from a speed limit sign to, you know, no glass bottles, and this would be something we'd work with you guys individually.
and I
on
also
the-
have shared the signage with Brett
Yeah.
at the chamber, so you
Okay,
know, he has some.
yeah, so don't
idea.
make any more,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
just
We
kind
got
of,
this
yeah,
funding a
let's-
while
yeah.
ago, and so.
Yeah.
it's
we'll work with you guys with these, and then we'll transition into our new,
New
yeah,
plan.
yeah.
Yeah, any other
Okay.
questions, ideas?
great.
Yeah.
Council in favor of moving forward with.
Do we need a motion or anything? on
I-
this?
I just-
I think just a motion
Yeah.
directing staff to work with the ARC
Okay.
personnel on the-
Motion to
on the
direct staff
turtle
to work
signs.
with our personnel to place signs on the beach. Please don't forget the areas further south, okay?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll second.
Thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? All right, Fran, please call the roll.
Yes. Abstain.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
That's a
That's my last item, so you can't.
There's always next month.
Yeah, okay, no, that's it, okay.
Yeah, don't cut yourself off.
No, I mean, for this meeting.
I know.
I should put them in like.
All right, item M,
instead.
ordinance.
Some of the communities, it'd be great to have them in.
We can put one at the marina.
Yep. and
First reading amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 27, Public Beach, Article 2, Beach Camping by amending Section 27 to 51, Camping Prohibitions, Recreational Vehicle Perpendicular Parking, effective dates to establish a year-round perpendicular parking, providing for severance, reading, penalty, and effective date.
I believe you guys, at the end of council comments. No, this was an agenda item. This was an update last month, and directed from you guys, I think, straw poll was like, hey, bring this back with a new first reading of an ordinance, with a year-round timeframe. So what you're seeing there is that ordinance. Fran, right? I think it's that one change.
Scratched out the time.
Yeah, recreational vehicles, whether parked or camping on the beach, must be parked perpendicular to the water's edge of the Gulf of Mexico within the entire city limits year round.
I guess one other question to put on this, David, would be the recreational vehicles create a load on the city as well, higher than the they're obviously requiring beach maintenance, trash, things of that nature. Is there any additional something that can be done to compensate the city for the additional trash
We
costs?
attempted that about
That's what I'm getting
6
at.
years ago, and
Yeah, I
GLO
figured you
whacked
did.
us. Yeah,
Okay.
we attempted a $40 permit and we got
shut down.
whacked.
Okay.
We actually approved the ordinance, and then GLO stepped in and went,
So here's my question. So we require on the motor vehicle,
So
but what
we
if
don't-
it's just a tow behind RV? Can we require the RV to have it, the non-motorized portion? So
I believe yeah, we've always just said one of the two.
Okay.
Yeah, we've never been that strict and said both of them need it.
Well, I make a motion that we adopt the ordinance as written.
a second,
All right, there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes.
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 Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Owen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
send Fran an email about the publishing requirement?
All right. Item N, resolution establishing a code of contact for a code of conduct for patrons at the Ellis Memorial Library.
Now Stephanie doesn't show her face often, but Stephanie, our library director, welcome.
Mayor, council, some people I haven't met yet, but y'all come visit me sometime. I would like to put it on record for us to have a code of conduct for the library. It just offers myself and my staff a place to start with patrons that we do have trouble with. That way, everybody understands the rules and the rules quite ever.
Has it gotten worse in the past few years or is this? just
Well, we
something-
haven't really had an issue
Okay.
until recently, and
Okay,
that's
so-
why I come to y'all. I'd like to take care of it before it becomes an issue.
Good idea.
I think it's needed. Yeah, surprised we didn't have one.
Well, I mean, it's always been a part of our rules, but it's not,
Specific to.
yes.
Oh,
So
wow.
that way we have it backed by council and everybody understands that it's the rules for
So this-
everyone that comes in our building.
So this is something that you would work with Dave to come up with, or you already have?
It's already written.
It's already written.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna submit it then.
You don't have
And it's-
sleeping on here. Is
it
sleeping
says-
permitted or not?
It's on there.
It is?
there, yeah.
Okay,
That's it.
all right. And it says,
That's
in
one
it,
of
it says shirt and shoes must be worn,
Yes.
but no más pantalones or?
So does this allow future changes to be made without coming to council then, Dave?
No, it just come back as a simple resolution. It's just, one reading.
It's just a general, it's a standard, most libraries have
Completely
the
reasonable.
same
Yeah,
policy.
You need a motion
I
for this?
think we do.
Okay, I'll make a motion to pass this ordinance as written. Resolution, thank you.
And it is National
yeah,
Library Card Sign Up Month, so if you do not have a library card, make sure you stop in this month and get it.
I'll second.
Thank
Thank you, Stephanie.
Okay, thank you. There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Fran, please call the roll.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Mayor Tim Owen,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item O, resolution awarding request for proposal RFP 202207 for a 30-ton condenser and 30-ton air handler for the Civic Center. Funds from the facility fund account number 115, capital outlay account 66320, and authorizing the city manager to act as the executive officer and authorized representative of the city in all matters pertaining to said bid award.
So we went out for an RFP again for we have two 30-ton units in the Civic Center, and the one closest to the stage area is out. And we went out for bids and they were due today at 3. We were very nervous because at 2:55 we had 0, but at 3 we had 3. So we were like, because
Well, we went out to bid before.
Yeah.
we got one.
We only got one bid and it came in over 50 and we didn't think it was going to come in over 50. So we didn't do a closed seal bid, which we had to have done. So we had to throw that one out, redo everything.
Yeah, then we still
Scratch.
bid it. We got one on the seal bid, then we did, this is our second seal bid because our first one was, so anyway, we got bids today. And our best bid is from ProTech Mechanical. They're bidding a carrier unit for $66,950 on their bid. It says 4 to 5 days to complete, but that means 4 to 5 days for installation. I called them to confirm. I said, so you're telling me you have a unit in stock? They do not. It's 13 to 15 weeks out for the equipment.
Yeah, that's,
The one of
That's
the
good.
bids was 6 months.
yeah, most of them were 6 months out.
winter is coming.
Yeah, I've already talked with paved people.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
we already.
Yeah,
Massive.
yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just, they're not there.
yeah, they're out there. COVID,
Mm.
7 months.
Okay, so.
But we're talking
So this
13 to
is
15
good.
weeks, so it's only about
Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah, this one's like one of the better ones.
Now, we will, if this is approved, we will give them a notice to proceed tomorrow. They're telling me 13 to 15 weeks. That does not mean it's going to be here in 13 to 15 weeks. If you talk to any builder that's been building any big piece of
It's
equipment,
bad.
it doesn't
Yeah,
happen. It's bad.
It's bad. And it's the end of summer. They've all been breaking and
Mhm. But that's why we wanted to get this in front of you, because we know even though you award it, it's not going to be in next week, just so that you know. So
That's crazy.
this is good.
I motion to approve.
Second,
All right, motion and second. Any further discussion? Brandon, please call the roll.
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yes.
Councilmember Small,
yes.
yes.
Councilmember Hart,
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Darla, is this you again?
6/9/15.
It includes in the resolution. Right? I mean, how that.
Which one are we on? Are we
Capital
on
outlay
the
account.
TMRS?
P,
Yes,
P.
TMRS.
updated service credits.
So ordinance authorizing and allowing under the Act governing Texas Municipal Retirement System, updating service credits in said system on the annual basis for service performed by qualifying members of such system who at the effective day of the allowance are in the employment of the city of Port Aransas, providing for an increased prior and current service annuities for retirees and beneficiaries of deceased retirees of the city, to increase the rate of deposits to the Texas Municipal Retirement System by the employees of the city, electing for the city to make current service and prior service contributions to the city's account in the benefit accumulation fund of the Texas Municipal Retirement System at the actuarially determined rate of total employee compensation, and establishing an effective date for the ordinance.
With that all being said, this is an ordinance that's required whenever you make any changes to your retirement system. This is in the budget that you passed last week. We are going from 6% to 7%. So instead of 6% being paid by the employees, 7% will come out of their checks. The city does a 2-to-1 match, which is actuarially figured. So it's not exactly going to be 14%, but it changes every year depending on the tenure of your employees, the age of your employees, things like that. But this is a budgeted item. Nothing else changes. It said a lot about updated service credits and deceased and everything. Those are all the things that we have in the plan now. You just have to restate it when you redo the ordinance. So this ordinance is a budgeted item. And it would start with the first payroll in October. That's why it's being brought to you now.
One reading?
One reading required by TMRS. If we require 3 readings still. But TMRS is only 1 reading.
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
What is that noise? It's her. Oh.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Hey, Wendy.
Brandon, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carried.
I was looking out in the crowd. I was like.
I got a knee replacement that's squeaky.
Somebody have WD-40. Okay.
Sorry.
Year 2022-2023 step and grade pay scale effective with the payroll ending October 5th, 2022, and attached here to is Exhibit 1, providing an increase to the police officer pay schedule, POPs, and an increase to the fire officer pay and adjusting pay and grade for all positions.
This is also a budget item that was passed in your budget. We discussed during the budget time adjusting the pay scale for civilian employees. And that is attached. And also the POPs pay scale, which is the pay scale for our uniformed police officers, and the fire officer pay, not their, our fire department's paid in 3 ways. The officers are paid a monthly stipend. They're paid for their weekly training to show up, and they're paid per call to show up. This is, last year, we gave an increase to the training and the per call pay rate. This is increasing the officer pay rate, which is stated in there. It takes the captains from 350 to 400, the assistant chief from 550 to 600, and the chief from 750 to 850. And that's their monthly stipend. And then they also get paid for drills and training, drills and calls. And then the pop scale and the step and grade scale are also attached, and everything was included in the budget.
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Brandon, please call the roll.
Councilmember Christensen,
Yes.
Councilmember Duval,
Yes.
Councilmember Chambers,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Owens,
Yes.
Mayor Moore.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Would you guys prefer to do all the staff reports now and then do the executive session?
Sure. Yes.
Sure.
Cut them loose?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so
Go Darla, go.
Dave, you want to give us?
Yeah, let me give an update.
Manager report?
Okay, so my 3 items. Assistant City Manager Lawrence Catrone has accepted the offer from the city, from myself. He is currently a city manager in Burke Burnett,
Oh.
Texas, which is just
Austin.
north of Wichita Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Burn it?
Burke Burnett.
Burn it.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
not just Burnett. Yeah, Burke Burnett.
Burn it.
Yeah, so a bedroom community in Wichita Falls, looking to arrive late October. So right now we're shuffling around at City Hall. We have to get we're getting a 3 office mobile. We just about have it figured out which one we're gonna get. We're gonna put it over where, right in the corner. Here, let me just pull it up. I'll show you guys where we're gonna put it. Where we used to have one, so it's already wired. So
does
right
he know
over
about
here in
this new
this,
Office and he still accepted?
well, no, no.
They're gonna draw straws.
You know, yeah, so it's gonna go right in this area right here. And that is gonna be the home of our 2 court people and our new SDR person. Then Darla moves over down the hall where she used to be, and Mr. Cutrone will move into Darla's office there. So he has accepted, and hopefully he'll show up here in about
What's his
40
name?
days.
What's-
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Lawrence Cutrone, Cutrone, and I believe he'll be with Burke Burnett for another 2 weeks, I believe. But he had put in his notice. It went to council the other night, so it's public information. So he's a Louisiana transplant, got a lot of hurricane experience, a lot of really good capital project management. He's a utilities guy, so he should be really help us out with the big gas. He's got a real strong utilities background and capital project background. So
How long was he in?
he's been in Burke Burnett since 2018. So it'd be 4 years there.
Was that his first?
Yeah, that was his first gig. So he's a good fit because he's not so tenured that that the pay wasn't enough for him. But he's got a lot of good council experience, legal experience, a lot of capital project experience, and really heavy on utilities. So
Hurricane experience.
yeah.
How old of a person is he?
I think he's in his late 30s. 2 kids. Yeah, 2 kids.
think we can
two
ask
cute
I
kids.
can't have that, never mind.
Yeah. 2 cute kids. Yeah. He was down last weekend looking in Padre for property.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. So that's exciting. Item 2, update on Port Street parking lot. So contracts are signed. We have the pre-construction meeting next Tuesday or next Thursday. What's the 22nd?
Thursday.
Next Thursday is the kickoff construction meeting. And then we should be breaking ground shortly thereafter. So that's cruising along. Legislative update. Todd Hunter's coming next week. I'm gonna pick his brain on legislative issues. And then look to bring you guys some names for a lobbyist
Good.
at the next meeting. Try to find someone who's who doesn't have any conflicts. That's always a big thing. So try to find us a good lobbyist that is strong in hot tax, general municipality stuff. It's kind of hard to foresee because the bills can be introduced all the way through, I believe, all the way through early January. So you never know what's going to pop up. So you need just someone who's, good enough to kind of get you through most of the general issues. I think, like Roxanne said, we'll definitely probably be seeing some short-term rental stuff. Who knows what else? I do believe the port is making another run at their, remember last session, they wanted to change the state's definition of what a port's allowable uses are and kind of get into, and it got a lot of pushback from a lot of the coastal bend. They were down in Brownsville. What they kind of learned was the state said, hey, we don't really want to look at one port. We want to look at all you guys together. And if you guys all came, so I think they were down in Brownsville trying to do a little recruiting with them down there. So we'll see what happens with support stuff. So that's the legislative, we'll try to bring you guys some names at the next meeting, some lobbyist names. So for professional services.
There's also some discussion from the Texas Economic Development Council that the Texas legislature is going to strongly try to take away Chapter 380 economic development incentives from cities and redirect it and call it an infrastructure tax.
Anything that tries to take state money, they're putting the clamps on it. So that's it on the
It's
one.
trying to take away local control. isn't it? And so you make it so that their tax money redirected.
That's all I got.
Okay. Staff, Darla.
Just wrote all of it.
So since I gave you so many handouts today, the thicker packet is the city financial. Apologize, but the 15th is the earliest day of the month that we can have this meeting, and it's hard to get all the numbers and get them in. And it didn't happen till actually this afternoon that we got all of our hotel tax entries made for the month. And when we did, it was pretty surprising. If you look at the month of August, which is for July stays,
Hold on, where is that one? Is that towards the back?
it's towards the back. It's your first Excel
sideways sheet?
spreadsheet.
Okay,
Yes, sir. It's your
yeah.
first sideways spreadsheet. We're at 2.7 million for the month of August collections, which are actually for July, compared to last year of 1.9 million, which was our biggest ever. If you look at 2 years ago, we were at 1.3 million. Last year, we were at 1.1. I do know that we have a property manager too that is still working on getting their information input into the system and computer. And I got the amount of their taxes over 300,000. So with that in for the month of July, you're breaking 3 million for the month of July.
But aren't two still missing? Two
I think
large
there's
ones?
3 still missing. I know the number for one large.
Yeah,
One,
2 large.
one is 3,
Yeah.
over 300. So that gets us over 3 million for the month of July. Which is up over 38% for the month, 12% for the year to date. And Brett was in my office at lunch and he hadn't gotten that number yet. So he's going to be really happy for it. I'll call him tomorrow. Sales tax for the same corresponding period was up 12.6% for the month, up 14.455% for the year, which also last year was our best year. And I apologize, these graphs, since I've given to somebody make a copy, they're not in color, so they're kind of hard to read, but we can email you all this report
Mine's in
since it
color.
was in your packet. Yours is in color?
We got lucky.
You may have gotten the original
Yeah.
one,
Ah, okay.
because all the others are black and white. You got the original that I gave her. Harbor is up 3.8% for the quarterly rentals year to date. We're down 18% for the dailies. And our golf carts are better than last year. We've already broken what we sold last year. We sold 5,203 for the year to date, and we're at 5,700. So if anybody has any questions, I know you didn't have time to digest the report, but without these big economic numbers, it just was not going to be the same report if it would have been in your packet.
But we can follow up. If we digest this later tonight or tomorrow.
Yes,
Feel
you
free.
can call me anytime, email me anytime. I'm here for questions.
Thank you, Darla.
All right, Rick, you're up.
Thank you. City Attorney Roxanne, kind of elaborated a little bit on our code enforcement. So, Carla's been pounding and, her new protege, Laura, equally, vigilant and persistent. So, like I said, a lot of code enforcement going on. Grass, just to get it out of the way with all the rains. You know, I just make the policy decision to just not go out hammering people because the yards are wet and the grass grew really fast, but we were able to get the jetty to put a story in the paper to give everybody notice that, you know, with the rains come the grass and with grass comes code enforcement. So we've given them a little bit of a break. If it dries out, letters have already started to go out. So we know that there's a lot of high grass, a lot of people have started, but a lot out of towners. So don't worry, we're sending out lots of weedy lot letters. Good stuff. Building permits. So year to date, 259 new construction building permits. For all of 21. We had 274. So like I said, 259 year to date, 274 for all of last year. Year over year comparison. This time last year we'd have been at 175 new construction building permits.
Wow.
In year to date, just the building fee, not impact or anything else, just the building permit project fees, just for knowledge, $1,376,000 is what we collect in those project fees. Short-term rentals, 24, 25 number registered as of now. So slowly but surely they're being added in. As far as that, we still think there's more to go. 63 complaints year to date, or not year to date, since initialization of our third-party company. So like I said, and I think they're falling into a better routine. We haven't had some of the problematic issues. But for reference, out of that 63 thus far, 19 have been parking, 20 have been trash. So it's a horse race between trash and parking.
How about noise?
Is a big one. Noise, 7. But again, we get the compliance on the noise is pretty swift. Like I said, I think Chief can attest that 99%, I think, if they appear, like I said, but I think the property managers are doing a really good job of managing when the calls are coming in. Word's getting out. We got zero tolerance. Somebody doesn't answer the 24/7. We wrote a citation for somebody for not returning the call, although the reason for the call wasn't in itself a violation. Somebody had called in a violation on the hotline, but they didn't respond. And so what wouldn't have been a problem as the short-term rental became a problem because they didn't answer the phone. So we're big on that. If the line exists and they need to answer it. I guess that's it.
Thank you, Rick.
All right. Thanks, Rick.
And Roxanne, thanks for pounding.
Daniel Johnson.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, well, we had 83 calls this month, or this for August, little dip compared to previous years, and definitely slowing down in our part. You can see the breakdown, like we do every month. On the public assist, just 2 lift assists this month, which is pretty good because we were getting hammered pretty bad there for a little while. And one of them just called because I thought we did COVID tests. We do not.
Did you guys go or just?
Well, we got there.
Oh, they called.
We, walked in and they're like, "Oh yeah, I feel like I'm getting kind of sick. Can you do a COVID test?" It's like, nope, not on CVS. See you later. So, you offer to take them to the hospital, but they don't want to go, and that seems to be going around. Everybody's kind of understanding the COVID symptoms, and they're just fighting it for the most part. As y'all know, we just had that terrible boating accident. There was a fatality. We're tied up half the day on that situation. and 5 people involved, 1 fatality, 1 got transported. We did transport 1 for a leg injury. There was some injuries in the other ones, but they just refused any kind of medical treatment. So, well, from there, like I said, call volume slowing down, response time's getting quicker. We shaved about 30-40 seconds from previous month, which is pretty good. And we're still working on the AED program. I know that y'all approved it with the budget, and it should be coming to y'all probably next month for the actual purchasing. But we are building some spreadsheets for tracking and to figure out where everything is and to keep up with the dates on when things need to be replaced. We have boosted up our community outreach, attending the track meets, attending all the other school functions, trying to, have some presence with the public. We did go to the VFW ceremony the other morning. That was a great ceremony. I think it was like under publicized, there wasn't enough people there it was early in the morning as well, but it was a really good ceremony. The police did a great job in the fire, blocked everything off. And so it was a good deal. Hopefully some better attendance next year. And we did do our walkthrough with the school. Officer Boyer walked us all through all the campuses, showed us all the new updates, new security updates, how to function their special locks that they have. And it was just good. It was good for all the guys to get familiar with the schools and what's going on and kind of the layout and the maps. Work with their suggestions. Did something a little different this year or this month, did a year in review. It's almost been a year since I took over, and I just kind of wanted y'all to know that, with everything going on, like I said up here, the personnel pandemics and facilities and everything else, we're still doing good, just kind of brag on some of the good things going on. The grants and the donations have been phenomenal. This community is amazing. They give you anytime you ask for the most part, and they give sometimes when you don't ask, so it's a really good deal. I don't need to read at you, but as you can see, some of our grants and donations, everything's been going on. Our acknowledgements, I'm gonna push that to next month, as y'all saw on the other. We'll have some more discussion on that. It was kind of a rush situation because some people are just now finishing, so we'll push that. And other than that, I just kind of touched on some of the things that we've done, some of the things that have changed on the with the station and stuff that we've needed, the new protocol rewrites, new SOPs. Those are huge undertakings for the year. And then the amount of training that we've done and we continue to do, and we're just really pushing our training to a whole new level. So it kind of just shows some of the stuff that the extra classes that we've done, the extra conferences we've done, the programs we're putting on for the community, and then just our yearly requirements anyway. And just wanted to say thank y'all for y'all support and the city's support and everything else, because that's why we are here.
Hey, Daniel, I know Saturday was a tough day,
Yeah.
and I thank you very much.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And always, you've done a great job as director, and we appreciate all the information, and you have a great team.
Appreciate it. I agree.
Take care. of
Thank you,
yourself.
Daniel.
Chief?
I look outside, the sun's still up yet.
Hey, that's your lucky day.
So I've been able to talk in the daylight.
That doesn't happen usually when you get it.
Had a really good August. It's typically, other than spring break, the month where we get the most citizen complaints and most use of force incidents. Everybody's had it with the summer, and we had 0 of either this year, so it was good. You can compare our numbers to last month, and like Daniel said, there's a dramatic drop off somewhere around the 15th when school started back, and businesses, I'm sure, saw the same thing, and then the rains came in. So nothing major to report. I do want to ask you while you get your pens out, and I'm thinking about it, August 4th. That's the first Tuesday, October 4th.
I was like, wait, next year?
The first Tuesday in October is
I
National
said
Night Out
they're
at Roberts
roadie.
Point Park. The police, fire, and EMS will all be represented there. Timing's not great. I don't know who at TML
Yeah.
scheduled
We're all
their
gonna be-
conference on National Night Out.
That's Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'll probably be hot footing it up to about 10 o'clock at night.
Samoa.
Yeah. So anyway, we'd like to see y'all out there. And I do have good news that we currently have 3 candidates going through background test checks right now. So if we get those slots filled, that'll be a big help. And I appreciate all that y'all have done. The support that y'all showed our department is probably our best recruiting tool. And we're already getting calls and people that in the coastal bend and even throughout the state whose councils don't even know what a COLA is. So we very much appreciate all y'all's effort. I know you put in lots of hours, and David and Darla did too. And we're very appreciative of all you did. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, Chief, great job, great staff.
No, the beach parking violation, 240.
That's low compared to last month.
Higher than last year.
And we're running into the section in the middle of the rainfall.
Okay. So no other items for staff? So-
Executive session.
Yep, so we're going back to executive session. We're gonna read my little thing. Executive session, section 551.071 of the Texas Open Meetings Act, to meet with the attorney and seek legal advice on a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct in the state bar of Texas clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meetings Act to relate to Beach Access Road B.